live stream. Got it. I'm gonna press got it, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, I think we're live, so I'm gonna play your music.
And Maxi Rosa.
One, two, three, Oh, let's get hot.
Oh my god. Oh, that's hysterical. Oh man.
You, of course, don't know that, but really, that's a copy of one of our production meetings. We'll be right back now in just one moment with Sonny Tufts.
God, that was great. Wow, what fun, man.
That band, I handpicked each guy. If Mike Melvoin on piano, who was a monster, Monty Budwig on bass, Colin Bailey, and Carrington Vine, who played all the reeds. We just had everything covered. Because when the singer came, and Herb Ellis, when the singer came in, and there was like no music, whatever, that
Yeah.
section was the greatest rhythm section to sing with. They were all, it's just so, and we were having so much fun because, at that time, that was 1964,
Yeah.
the scale was $15 a night, and these were jazz musicians. They were not doing studio work.
Yeah.
They worked like twice a week, 3 weeks, making 3 times a week, making $15 a night. This time, they were getting paid something $235 every week, just a few hours a day for steady job. Everybody was having fun making money, and the band. Well, I run a very loose band now. You got to have fun on my bandstand or get out.
Oh my God, that was really fun, really fun. God,
Every show is like that with that band, and my contract. When I got called, I lived in New York, and they called me to do this show in California. I was in jazz. I was playing jazz, and they said, I said I wanted to play jazz 3 times a week on camera. So we play 3 times a week on camera. And we got a chance to play jazz and still do the show.
Yeah. Did you did you ever find it? I mean, it sounds, when I hear you speak and what you just said, it sounds like kind of anything you thought of you could make happen. Was that how it was, or did you have a lot of, downfalls as well?
No, I've been very fortunate in my life. I never had to audition for anything.
Oh, wow.
I got called by Benny Goodman. I got called by Woody Herman. I got called by Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. And it was all, I'm a blessed human being, Cathy, that I really had 80 years of fun on stage. My easiest part of my life was getting on stage because I work loose. I walk out. First of all, I have routine when I'm on a road. There was one time I had this girl, Terry Pollard. If you played that video once,
yeah,
a girl, 23 years old in 1953. No girls played this way. Marion McPartland was a great piano player. Bob Carroll, Mary Louise, but she was an actual bebop player, and she played vibes as good as I did. And so, 4 years we were together.
Wow.
52 weeks a year we were going for one. But the driving 500 miles didn't mean anything because once we got on stage, it was like we would just shot up a pound of cocaine or something. We were just, it was happiness because I run a loose band. I talk to the audience. When concerts started to come in and they paid a lot more money, it was a job. It wasn't fun. It was, we did it. But like, for example, playing the Hollywood Bowl with the Dream Band or with Buddy DeFranco, myself,
yeah,
paid me more money than anything. But the audience was 20 yards away from me.
Yeah.
That wasn't fun. I like when somebody's sitting right in front of you with the audience so I can tell the guy. And I think I work like Don Rickles in a way. That's which is terrible. I want this fly. I don't know what I'm going to say. I swear. But you know what? If somebody in my band, like when I had the Dream Band, if Jack Sheldon had something to say, of course, I wouldn't let Joe Maney say anything because you never know what he's going to say on the mic. But Jack Sheldon knew if he wanted to work on my band, he couldn't say anything out. I wasn't selling filth. I was selling a band with personalities like Frank Marcelino and Connie Condoli and Jack. People who had sense of humor, who meant Flory. If you had something silly to say, I'd be the best straight man you ever had. That was the whole thing, even before we started the show. So we can have fun to get the audience involved,
That's great. I feel so lucky that I got to see some of those guys and, kind of be around those guys and yourself, a bit, I just felt like I told you before, I worked at Dante's for a year and a half as a waitress when I was 21.
What year was that?
76 through 77,
That's wild.
Yeah. And I mean, Frank was still, he was around, and then he also died while I was there. But Frank Severino, was real friendly.
Frank Severino worked for me.
And the Condoli brothers, they were so kind.
Most of them worked for me. I'm very fortunate. I'm blessed human being that everybody you're going to mention probably worked for me at one time. I've been a band leader since 1950. And I didn't make myself a band leader. The club owners did. In New York, I was living in New York, and they called me in Monday night was Birdland Jam Session. and you went there, you never know who was going to be the leader. But they said, Terry, you run the show, you call the tempo. What Powell sitting there said, what about, I just tap over tempo, that was it. But little by little, they started to make me, I said, can I bring my own guys in? I said, yeah, sure. So that's when I started a band.
Oh, yeah.
I brought Don Elliott, if you know Don Elliott, he played mellophone and vibes.
Yeah.
Louis Taylor on piano, George Vivier on bass, and it was sort of guys in I used all the guys in New York, like Art Blakey. They weren't working, so I was a leader, so I had a chance to play with the best players in the world by hiring them on my jobs.
That is crazy.
That is
crazy.
That's being crazy blessed. Though. I'll tell you that.
Crazy blessed. Yeah, definitely. Wow. So, quick side question: were you? Did you live in New York up until a certain point, or were you bi-coastal, or what?
Well, I grew up in New York.
Okay.
Grew up in New York and then moved to California in 1957.
Oh.
After 4 years of having that band, I got married. I got married to a girl in California when she was 18. I was 24. I brought her to New York, and we leave there in the apartment while I went on the road for 6 months having fun. And the marriage lasted about 5 years, and then we divorced about 7 months, and we missed each other. And I had that band with Terry Pollard, like I said, for 4 years. And I played all the percussion instruments. I had a scholarship to Juilliard as a snare drummer and timpanist, and I play all the percussion instruments. So I said, we started to talk and we wanted to get together. I said, you know what, I'll settle down. I'll move out to California and I'll try to do studio work, or we'll stay in one place. I moved out to California and I found out that if you do studio work, you can't play at night in the jazz club. They were trying to pass out the work because all the studio players were the best players. Howard Robbins, Bud Shank, they were all doing studio work. And I still was a jazz player, so I couldn't give up playing jazz, even though I was offered a staff job. And that's a funny thing, I'll tell you. There's a guy called Al Lappin. He used to be the contractor at NBC. And he once was a drummer. I think he worked for my father playing Jewish weddings. And so I called Al and I said, Al, is there a chance to get on staff? So he called me back. He said, yeah. And by then I found out you can't work at night. So I didn't know how to get out of it. So I said, Al, I have to have a double check. And he starts screaming, double check? The only people getting a double check here is Conrad Cosmo and Irv Kotler, the drummer. Are you kidding? Forget about it. And he hung up on me. I figured, I'm out of it. Great. He called me back the next day. He says, you little cocker, I'm going to give you that chance to be on staff. You know why he wanted me? Because I was fairly well known as a jazz musician. And they had the Dean Martin show, they had the Dinah Shore show. Well, they had all these variety shows. They could have put me on for nothing. And then I had to tell them the truth. And I had to still play jazz. I couldn't do that. How it all happened after he called me back and gave me the job. I didn't know what to do. He gave me a double check. He gave me.
Oh my God. Wow, not many people would have chosen that.
You know.
Yeah, not many people would have chosen that, huh?
No matter what I did, when I worked with Steve Allen, he loved jazz, so we had a jazz musician. When I did the Regis Philbin show, which is pretty wild, it was a strange thing. I used to guest on Steve Allen. He was my friend, and I guested a lot on his show. And he had this show that I guested on, and then he had a fight with Westinghouse, and he quit like this. It was a syndicated show.
Oh.
If people don't know what syndicated shows, you record, and Cincinnati could buy it and put it on at 3:00 anytime they want a syndicated show. So Steve had a syndicated show and quit. So they hired. I was living in New York. Went back to New York, and I get a call from this. They hired this young kid, by the way, and in San Diego called Regis Philbin. And so I get a call from the associate producer who became friendly with me when I used to appear on the Steve Allen show as a guest. And he said, listen, how would you like to conduct a television show? I said, Dick, I never did. He said, you'll be great. He said, but you have to come audition. Not playing. I know what you can do. We want you to come in and sit with Regis because you're gonna be like the second banana. You'll be doing what Ed the big man did with Johnny Carson. He'll be talking to you for anything. So they flew me in, and I'm the same way all the time, Cathy. I can't help it. I get in a room with Regis and the executive producer, and we were introduced. And the first thing I said, you got the dumbest name I ever heard. Regis Philbin. Which goes first, Philbin or Regis? He broke up and loved me for that. That's how I got the job. I just came out of my mouth. You got the dumbest name I ever heard. It is a strange name, you know. The first review we ever got wasn't, well, who's they said, what's a Regis Philbin? That was wild.
I have a question here from my friend Roland. He wanted to understand that studio players couldn't play nightclubs. It's probably just because of the time element, right?
Oh no, they wanted to pass the work around because all the studio players were the best jazz players, so they'd be working at night, and the young guys who played jazz couldn't get a job because they weren't as well known as Bud Shank and Howard Roberts and Pete Cano. You know, these guys were staff musicians.
Yeah.
But they were working at night also, all the jazz jobs. So the young kids, so the union passed a law.
Oh.
You work in the studio, you can't play at the clubs at night.
Really? Wow.
The union was very strong those days, seriously.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that. That's really interesting. Huh.
Yeah, that's how it happened, you know. And I knew I couldn't play at night if I was on staff, which I wanted to settle. So I settled down in some form for a year or two, and then the dream band hit from left field, and it became party time again for me.
But yet you played on you were on the Regis show, so that wasn't that a contradiction, kind of?
That's what I said. My contract, it said I played 3 times a week with my sextet.
Oh.
So we performed, like, you know, the thing you saw, we played, but I wrote a lot of original songs that we played on that, you know.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
I want to talk about the first show, which is very wild. I wrote this arrangement, whatever it is I wrote for that sextet, you know.
Yeah.
We rehearsed all day, and you do a show a day, you rehearse all day. And I had the music in front of me because it was like a little arrangement that we all had to play with, time figured. And we're doing this, and all of a sudden, showtime came, and then this act. They said, okay, time for Terry Gibbs. And the moment they said, the stagehands came and took my stand away because the director wanted to get all these shots, you know. Give me back my music. I don't even know what the hell I wrote, you know. And let me tell you one thing. I sort of memorized. I'm good at memorization. I memorized everything, but I missed one note. And the show wasn't, it's a syndicated show, so it wasn't shown for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, I suffered, saying, wow, everybody see that show, they're going to say he's terrible. You know, I watched the show, I didn't remember where the note was. It went by so fast, you know. But I suffered for 2 weeks.
Isn't that a weird thing about music? Like you can listen and think it sucks, and then the next day you can think it's great, or vice versa.
You know, Buddy DeFranco and I, at the end of about 17 years, we had the same temper. We both burdened his followers, and if he didn't like what he played, he was bugged. If I didn't like how he played, we recorded an album called Airmail Special, I think it was, whatever it was. I wrote a thing called, now most of by the way, by from 1959, everything I did was live. I didn't like recording in studios, so I recorded live. But this one album, I wrote an arrangement on David Rose's Holiday for Strings, right?
Yeah.
With a lot of notes in it, I figured we'll never be able to do that live. You know, it wouldn't come off. So we recorded this too. We did it in 2 takes. Anyhow, Buddy didn't like what he played on it, and I didn't feel good about it. I always feel like that after I record. I hear myself play. About 6 months later, I'm talking to him on the phone, and I hear music in the background. I said, "What the heck is that, Buddy, you play?" He said, "That's the album we did. You know something? That was a real great album." After we recorded it, he went home, wanted to throw up. You know, if you really, that's why I don't like recording in the studio. I don't want to hear when I play. You know, my last album I ever did, I did in my house. It was called 92 Years Young. John Campbell and Mike Garula, a great little bass player, my son and myself. And when the company asked me to do an album, he's been after me for years. He recorded my son doing about 11 albums.
Yeah.
This guy, Neil, what's his last name? But he wanted me to do the album. And for years he's been doing it. So he finally called me when my son was here. And he said, "Why did you do an album?" And I sort of retired about that. I said, "You know what? You want me to do an album? I'm not going to the studio. I'll do one in my house, right in my little cupboard here." He said, "What are you going to play?" I said, "Who the hell knows? The jam session." I said, "We'll do it." So now I was 91 years old. So he figured I'll get tired. So he hired the guys for 4 days. And in 4 days, we recorded 34 songs. I said, "You guys know How High the Moon?" "Yeah, we played it. If you don't know this, we don't. We just went from one song to another. Never listened to it." My son is great with the board, so he had a 29-inch computer where you could see everything, see all the blood, you know, the things. And he had a recording thing, and he mixed it. But he got where he thought it was good, and I heard it first. Good, you know. Let's just play, have fun.
Yeah,
that's what we did. If we could have put on an album of all the talking between, that would have been a hit album. You know how you're always saying stupid things, you know?
Yeah. I like hearing that. Just it affirms my own feelings. Like I have a love-hate relationship with the studio. I just, it's good for certain things, but I just don't. I like live. That's
all my albums are live. All the Dream Band albums are live. All my last albums are live. You know, Buddy DeFranco, myself.
Yeah.
The
only thing for me is that sometimes this instrument will do weird things, and the studio is good for a little fixing.
You're right. If you're a singer, getting you separated from, some Wally Hyder, the guy who recorded my Dream Band.
Yeah. Right
in front of the band. And they're hollering back. I'm walking that band and swinging so hard, and it picked up the vibes as if I was coming around me with some plastic things where you couldn't see it. But he was just that great an engineer where he recorded that band,
Yeah, yeah. Hey, so before I get to Taylor Hatch's questions, which are always great, I'm curious. I've been listening to this podcast of Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She's interviewing older women, career women, like music and acting. And so it just brings to mind age. So I'm just curious. You're 99 and
99.
What? Going
on 25.
Yeah. So what's your perspective? Like from an age point of view, like how are you looking at life and thinking or knowing that you're 99? Is there anything extra?
I'm 99. That's the problem. See, I don't know numbers. My wife passed away about 9 months ago. I was 25 and a half years older than her. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the whole thing. When I joined Benny Goodman, I was 25 years old or 24, and he was 42. It was a sextet. And after we played the first 4 bars, we were the same age. With jazz, there's no number. Right now, at 90, 99, if I had the energy to start a band, I'd find a drummer who was 26. He'd be my age, or I wouldn't hire him. He'd be, like Serious, Benny Goodman, I would after 4 bars, we became the same age. That's what jazz does for you.
Yeah, yeah,
No number on what y'all when guys play. No, there's no color, there's no religion, there's nothing. It's all the chords, whatever you hear, play together, you know.
yeah, yeah. So you don't really,
By
you
the
don't
way, Taylor,
think
Taylor
about.
Hatch on my show I do on Saturday. One guy Taylor Hatch sends me a lot of questions.
I know he's great. The questions that he asks. My guests always go like this. Oh, they have to like, wow, they have to really think. He's got great
What is
questions.
he asking now? Oh, he asked the question already about
Okay, well, let's see. And he, by the way, he said you and he are right up to each other in age.
Is he really?
No.
No, I'm the oldest bebop player living. I'm 99. The next one to me is Roy Haynes, who will be 99 in March.
Wow. Well,
Everybody else is a child.
my friend Roland pointed out, you're 7 years older than David Amram, and he's pretty cool too. You know David Amram, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've interviewed him and hung out with him. He's
He's a baby.
okay. So,
You know?
one question of Taylor's is, as you've grown as an artist over the years, what has been most interesting to you about the East Coast and the West Coast jazz scenes of today?
Fans or the players?
Well, it just says jazz scenes.
Oh, let me tell you something wild. Whatever they call West Coast jazz,
Yeah.
when I moved out here, Shelly Manne and Shorty Rogers, they were known from West Coast jazz. They were from the Bronx in New York.
Yeah.
I worked with Shelly with Woody Herman and so short. They were. It was a dumb name because I think they played. The energy wasn't as maybe for the most musicians who lived here because of weather, whatever it is, compared to New York. New York was hustle, bustle. Everything was like boom, 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 boom. So the energy level was high. But when I played, I was from New York. I didn't know about any but New York energy level.
Yeah.
That and you know that when I had it with my dream band, I used to have every arranger make sure there was a big chord on the ending. I wanted people to think that's a closing tune, every tune.
I want to know. Sorry, Taylor, I'm interrupting here, but I actually wanted to know kind of the progression of the Dream Band. Why did you think of it, or did it just happen, and how long did it go on?
Hey, Cathy, I wrote an autobiography.
Yeah.
I actually hit a teacher in school and got thrown out of school at 17 years old. So I got all these street smarts. Let me see. In 1959, I had a good contract with Mercury. They loved what I did. Big bands were not.
Yeah.
Because Dave Brubeck and people like were making as much money as Count Basie.
Yeah.
It was not like let's start an alto player with Glenn Miller and say let's start a band, you know. So anyhow, I got this idea. I moved out to California, and I did an album with a big band in New York, which I wasn't happy because I used the drummer that played my little band, and a drummer is the most important player in the whole band, and he didn't know what to do. So I moved out here, and the union, Ned Flory had a rehearsal band, and Bill Holman had one. I went down and I heard the band. Well, I heard some players I liked, so I got this idea, and I called this guy Bobby Shen at Mercury Records in New York. I said, Bobby, I want to do an album. I got an idea for, and they usually let me do it. And I said, it's a big band. He said, hey, but Terry, big bands are not in. I said, but listen, let me tell you, my idea is I want to take 6 different band leaders and take something out of the song they made famous, like Artie Shaw's chorus on Stardust, Illinois Jacquette's chorus on Flying Home with Lionel Hampton, Tommy Dorsey playing Then He Said It With You, Artie, 6 different band jumping to Woodside with Basie. I want to use 2 tunes and take something out of the tune like Lester Young's chorus, and take it out of the arrangement and add it with the saxes and vibes. And I'm hired 6 different arrangers out in California. Well, back east, I hired Bobby Brookmeyer, Al Cohn, and Manny Al. They were all my friends, so they knew what I liked. And out here, I hired Marty Page, Ned Flory, and Bill Holman. And I gave them 2 tunes that I thought maybe a Duke Ellington tune, this will do, and the Artie Shaw. And the album started that, and also I get all the arrangements, and I find out I was playing in a little club, by the way, with a band with Stan Levy, Charlie Hayden, Russ Freeman, and Connie Condoli. And the place was going to go out of business, but they wouldn't try jazz. So anyhow, we played 2 weeks ago. That was pretty good. So then I found out that Pete Rugolo got fined $1,000 for rehearsing for Record Date. What they wanted you to do, not rehearse at the Union, they wanted you to rehearse in the studio so guys can make overtime. The Union was strong. So I got all this music. I don't know what the heck to do with it. I can't even rehearse it because I like to rehearse it because this time we had to go to the studio. So anyhow, the weirdest thing, I found out that you could rehearse for a $15 club date, but you can't rehearse for record. So I said to the club owner, how'd you like to have a 15-piece band for what you pay me? I had enough to pay each guy's scale, $15, and pay my band boy a Wynot with 11 as the band leader. I'd like to have a big band with you. He said, I don't care. We don't do business. I'm going to close anyhow. So we built a bandstand, and we rehearsed in the afternoon one day, and we had to play there one night. So we told Steve Allen was a friend. He gave me a plug, and we told musicians started there about it. And we expected 30, 40 people. That was it. We had 12 pieces of music. Those days, you couldn't record anything more than 4 minutes or you wouldn't get airplay.
Right.
All the arrangements were built, and I built my band around Benny Goodman style, where he didn't have a section to play with, neither did I. So it was in and out with the vibes and the brass and always with it. So we recorded all day, and then we came into the job at night. There were 30 people sitting there, 40 people. So we went in the back room because I wanted to take each arrangement, which I learned from Woody Herman when I was with the band, how to open up to make it longer. Every time there's an interlude, you can play choruses. I said, Cathy, at letter A, you got 400 choruses, and letter B, Frank Russell, you got 1 million choruses. So each lasts 8, 9 minutes, and we started to walk out to play. We walked out, and there were 300 people packed in a place. And you saw famous like Fred McMurray and June Haber. And you remember the name of Luella Parsons that used to write? What the heck is she doing there, And a bunch of musicians. So I grabbed everybody in the back room. I said, look, I made a joke on this whole thing. I said, we're starting a band tonight. And the first rule is there's no drinking off the bandstand. If you want to drink, and believe it or not, I'd start the top of a tune, and then Flory says, hey, wait a minute, I need a beer. Hey, wait for this. It was one time we must have 5 waiters on stage. Nobody could drink. It was like New Year's Eve party time. So we said, let's try it again next week. So once again, next week, we come in, 30, 40 people. And by this time, Bill Holman let me a few arrangements, and Ned Flory let me a few arrangements. So we went in the back room once again, talking over, came out. The place was packed with people waiting to get in. It was like remember that, I think it was Mickey Rooney, if anybody knows, at Rudy Garland, let's start a show in the barn. This was like, all of a sudden, I had a band. I didn't want it because I was doing very well with my little band, making a decent amount of money. Here I'm making $11 a night, which is not too bad for a band leader, So we kept doing it every week. It got better. Then they said, want to try 5 days a week? And one of the things, we said, yeah, we'll try 5. And then time we picked to try 5 days a week, Count Basie was opening up at the Crescendo. We figured, oh, God, we outgrew Basie.
Wow.
The guys at Basie's band who were my friends from back east, because we were on tour with them one time. everybody came. Joe Williams and Sonny, everybody was coming to hear our band. Word got around, and so for about 2 years, that's what was going on with the band.
Wow.
We left town twice. We went to Las Vegas, and boy, they made a big thing. They built me the new King of Swing, and we all we wanted to do was play. And we didn't care about it, And then we did 219 one time with Miles Davis when he had Cannonball Adderley and John Coltrane, and that was fun, But that's all. We never left town.
Wow. So what's 5 nights a week for 2 years? Was that at the same place?
Yeah, at the Sundown. We went, and then this guy. I can say it because I'm going to say it anyhow. I can say something off color, right?
Say, oh, sure.
Yeah, can I? Okay. Joe Maney you never had him a mic, by the way, because Joe is street people. He was beautiful. He was the most beautiful guy, but he was street people. And so this guy, Bob Summit, buys the club from this guy, Jimmy Madden, and renamed it the Summit. Now, he used to come and hear the band all the time, and his mother had a lot of money, so he bought the club. And they had that show, I forget it used to be coming from New York. It was a coast-to-coast show once a week, and they wanted the band to do it one week. And Bob, the guy who owned the close, he was going to be the MC, right? And it was Joe Maney's birthday. And we played Cottontail. There's a big saxophone chorus where everybody stands up. And so I told all the guys in the band, look, when it comes to the saxophone chorus, go right into Happy Birthday. And, because Joe Maney was there, but he was a very warm-hearted guy.
Yeah.
And so we're playing a few teams, we're playing Cottontail, and they all stand up, and Joe Maney also, da, 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 da. And he looked like, wow, I don't believe it. So Bob, who had the microphone, was standing there, and so Joe goes get the mic. I said, oh no! And he gives Joe the mic. Now we're on coast to coast. And Joe says, Terry, this thing is, I don't believe what you did here. It makes me feel so good that my dick is turning purple. I went right back into the song. Nobody knew what to say, and my dick is turning purple. Wow. The band was like a fun band, really. Before we played any tour, I'll tell you a beautiful story. Everybody loved Frank Rossellino, and Frank Rossellino could yodel. He was a great yodeler, really.
Yeah.
So while I always had a habit of going, here it is. Here it is, so they know the tempo, Here it is. And we do that for about 2 minutes, all of a sudden the audience, here it is. It got to be that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So here it is. I did hear it. I heard it 1, 2. Wait a minute, hold. Frank, how's your foot? Oh, how's your car? And I asked him, and he stand up immediately, and he'd start whatever he would say, he'd keep going and going. And then he yodeled the last minute. It didn't make any sense. By the time he got done, we all run over, and he had the audience in our palm of our head. They were all laughing and screaming. And so everything we did was fun,
Oh, that's great. And Frank Rossellino was so like that.
He had a great sense. Jack Shell, these guys were about Ned Flory. You let them talk. They're funny. They say things.
And Frank Severino too. He was like that too. He was funny.
He worked my band. He went on the road with me.
Oh, he was a dear friend of mine. He was adorable, He was a
sweetheart guy.
Yeah.
Did you ever know Gary Froma? He took his place in my band.
No.
Remember out he had that Lou Levy. I had a band in New York with Lou Levy and Max Bennett and Tiny Khan, and I moved out here. My best friend was Lou Levy. Lou Levy and my Conti were my two best friends because we went to Sweden in 1947 with Chubby Jackson band. We knew each other. We all lived together, and we had, it was something. We all did something. We never went overseas. We did something as young kids. I think Lou was about 19. Conti was about 20. I'm about 21. So those are my close friends. So Lou Levy and Mac Benson. Then I hired this kid guy, Gary Froman. They told me he's great. And then when he couldn't make it, I heard about this kid, Frank Severino. And I never hire anybody unless I hear him play.
Yeah.
I'd go down here and play. He sounded good enough. He give me all I need from a drummer at the time. I don't want to get too fancy. My favorite drummers that I ever had worked with in California that I used. Well, Mel was the best big band drummer, so we won't talk about big band.
Yeah.
Stan Levy, Frank Butler, and Gary Fromer were my favorite drummers I ever had there. Back east, it was Art Blakey and Charlie Smith were the two drummers that worked for me. That were my favorite drummers.
Oh.
The drums, because I was really, I hate to brag, but I don't brag about my vibe playing, but I could play drums as good as anybody with a big band.
Yeah.
I went on the road when I was 17 with a band.
Yeah. Yeah. That must have been interesting as a drummer, hiring a drummer that you liked.
Well, a drummer is the leader of the band.
Yeah.
His time makes the whole band. He runs the whole band. If he slows down, we can't play.
Yeah.
If it speeds up, the whole band usually speeds up together, so because it's exciting. But any drummer that slows down, Mel Lewis was the greatest big band. So he just sat on it. Tempo never moved. You could take a 10-minute arrangement from the beginning to the end and edit it, and it'll be the same tempo.
Wow. Yeah, somebody once told me if you don't like what a drummer's playing, get a different drummer.
Without a doubt. You know what's wild? If you're having trouble playing, it's because the drummer.
Yeah.
If the piano player is playing raw chord changes, I'll listen to what he's playing. But the drummer slows down. If it gets, like I said, if it gets exciting and has a tempo. For example, it's played like Ray Brown. Ray Brown, when he moved out here to California, worked for me for a while. He plays on top, and boy, it's really exciting to play with Ray Brown because he gives you that fire,
Yeah. I remember one time I was in Catalina's a long time ago. Kenny Kirkland. I went to see Kenny Kirkland, and he had Jeff Tain Watts and Dave Carpenter. Remember Dave Carpenter?
Dave worked for me on one of my albums.
Well, at first when I was listening, I was really torn because Kenny played on the backside, Tain played on the front side, and my mind was like, "What's going on?" And then I started listening to Dave, and Dave was just like right in the friggin' middle. Then I got it. It was like, oh shit, man, the bass player keeps everything kind of together there.
The album that Dave did with me, he did two, but this one was Dave, Jeff Hamilton, and Tom Rainier.
Oh.
You live out in California, so we can talk about the same things, our weather, the rainy weather. This is a great thing to be doing in this rainy weather. It was fun.
Tom Rainier he's like Tom Rainier. Wow.
Well, not only is he a great piano player, but he's a great clarinet player, saxophone player. He does it all, and a great arranger.
Yeah, he's a pretty amazing musician. I don't see him enough in LA proper, Let's see. There's another Taylor question. Let's see, Taylor. I'm looking. Let's see. Well, he has two good questions here. As you were writing your autobiography, which section was the most fun to write, and why?
Well, writing about Benny Goodman was fun because he was a complete foggy idiot. He was out there. Benny Goodman called everybody pops because he couldn't remember your name. And my legal name is Gubenko, and he loved that name, and he always called me Gubenko until I asked for raise and I became Pops. I used to ask stories about Benny growing up, and they sounded so far-fetched. It was like I told you a story about somebody wearing a red shirt, and you told the other, by the time I got to the eighth person, it was a pair of black shoes. That's what the story said, until I started to work for him and found out he'd forget to button his fly, forget to comb his hair when going on stage, He was out there. He called one wild story that will tell you what he is. he was going to do a tour with Louis Armstrong, and he tells Joe Glazer, "Get me Ziggy Elman." He wanted to get as many of the old guys he could for the tour, And so about a week later, they're having rehearsal at Nola Studios in New York, and Benny comes in and he looks at the trumpet section. He says to Joe Glazer, "I told you to get me Ziggy Elman." He said, "That's Ziggy Elman." I said, "No, it's not. That's Ziggy Elman." No, it's not. He called everybody Pops. He didn't know who was who. He didn't know Harry James from Ziggy Elman from Chris Griffin. Everybody was Pops.
Wow, that's funny. Hey, I'm curious, do you...
I'll tell you one of my favorite stories, really.
Okay.
It's sad the way it was good. People didn't know Buddy Rich. He was my friend.
Yeah.
I played his funeral.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it was sad, but there was something about it. It was closed thing, and I was with Buddy Rich. He had aneurysm in his head, so he was really dying. And this rich guy, Sam Nessie, took his whole hospital bed and brought it to his house. He had a big house, and hired all the nurses, all the equipment to Buddy. And Ray Brown and I were with him the night before he died. And in his will, it said that he wanted Ray Brown, Sweet Edison, and myself to play funeral. They couldn't find Ray Brown or Sweet, so Mel Torme called me and said, "Listen, we can't find you. You got to play the funeral." I said, "Hey, Mel, Jews don't play funerals. We cry. The Jews don't do it." He said, "You got to do it." So I got Al Viola and Tom Warren, a bass player that played with Buddy Rich, and we had just started to play My Buddy. Now, the coffin is like right 2 feet away from me, and there were 5 people sitting there to talk. First one was Mel, who spoke about his relationship, then Johnny Carson, who loved Buddy Rich and also played a little drum. He had everybody crying with his stories. And then Frank Sinatra got up and said, "Ladies and gentlemen," he says, "when I joined the Tommy Dorsey band and Buddy Rich was already there, Tommy said, 'Now I have 2 assholes on the band.'" Broke everybody. Then Arnie Shaw, who speaks his mind, he don't care who he puts down. I tell him, he says, "When Buddy worked in my band, he played loud bass drum. And I heard him about 6-7 months ago at Casino Gardens at Disneyland, and he still played loud bass drum." The man is later in comedy giant. Then Jerry Lewis spoke, and then Robert Blake, who was supposed to have killed somebody. He had to read a poem that Jack Jones wrote that I had to play My Buddy.
Wow.
I had to hold on to my hand to play the first few notes because I was crying. Jackie Cooper, the actor, he and I were good friends. We were both crying like 2 idiots. It was very hard for me to play at a funeral, But that was a Broadway show. When Frank Sinatra said, "Now I have 2 assholes on the bed," everybody. He couldn't, Frank had, he loosened up everybody.
Wow, that's quite the hang.
So, by the way,
Wow.
my autobiography, which I wrote, I don't want to, it's been out to 2004, so I'm not trying to sell it. It's still being sold. And it won the ASCAP Deems Taylor Award, which every writer who writes books wants to win that award, which I never knew.
Yeah.
When they flew me into New York to present me with the award, I met the panel. I said, "What do you guys like about my book?" They said, "Everything. It's very anecdotal. They're all stories about." I wrote every word in the book. I sat with the jazz historian Carrie Janelle in my house for a year, and first we used to put it on tape, and then he would send me to write out everything that I said. It was all mishmash because my brain runs like this. And first I'd say Woody Herman, and I'd say 2 sentences, and I'd talk about Stan Getz. Then I brought up Zoot Sims, which brought up Al Coleman, brought up Shorty Rod. When he'd bring me back to papers, there were no stories, just names. But I knew I had names. So I bought a DVD and learned how to type, and I did 20 minutes. But when you see what you wrote, what you see on paper, then you know what you said. And so I would correct every story. and every story was checked out by the general.
Yeah.
They know more about you than you know about yourself.
Yeah. What's the name of the book? Is it your name?
Goodbye. Well, let me say, I have a copy of that there. It's been out now for about. Let's know. It's been out for a long time now, but it's still good vibes.
Yeah.
And it can be gotten on Amazon or eBay, you know.
Yeah. Fantastic. Oh my God.
I'm a blessed. Let me tell you, I told you I got thrown out of school. So anyhow, when I was asked to do the book by the publisher, I said this, I don't use the word, the F word and thing like that, but if quoting somebody, I got to use it. He said, we don't care. Just give us a book, you know.
Hey, let's go and find some music to play, shall we?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I am going to YouTube, and let's see. Is this YouTube? Yeah, but this is YouTube. Okay, so Terry Gibbs vibes. Here's with Terry Pollard. Should I watch
that one? That's the classic.
Okay, let's watch that one. Wow. Oh my God. Wow.
That girl was so talented. It was ridiculous. She was only 23 when she joined my band. And I didn't know what she sounded like. You know, I played five that good, you know.
Fantastic piano and I mean, yeah, she's wonderful. I honestly have never heard of her.
You want to hear how I found it? It was wild. Dizzy, I'm talking to Dizzy Gillespie one time back to maybe, and he says, Terry, if you ever get to Detroit, there's a great trumpet player called Thad Jones. These were unknown people in this day.
Yeah.
It was a trumpet player. You got to hear him. He's really that good. Anyhow, I was playing in Detroit a few years later, and I had a day off, and one of my guys I was in the Army with came down. So he said, what are we going to do? First, we're going to go hear jazz. We were young kids. I said, let's see what's happening. We looked at the paper and it said, I think it said Beehive or something. I said, it said Thad Jones. I said, you know, I'm not sure, but I think that name is the one that Dizzy Gillespie told me about. So he went down there and I'll tell you the names now, but nobody even know them. Thad Jones on trumpet, Elvin Jones on drums, Billy Mitchell on tenor, I forget the bass player's name, Bean somebody, and this young girl, Terry Pollard. And we got a little stoned, we smoked a little pot and had a few drinks, so I figured, God, I'm hearing something, maybe I'm really hallucinating. And I'm usually cool when I do the thing. I said, I didn't believe what she sounded like. So when they got off the stage, I introduced myself and I said, I was looking for a piano player there because I didn't have a regular band. And I said, listen, would you come play for me tomorrow? I was telling her the thing. She said, yeah, so I picked her up and brought her with the two guys I had. And how I auditioned musicians, I never play anything hard. I got rhythm or the blues. So I picked the blues or I got rhythm and I wanted to stand and I played and she played. And boy, did she sound great. So then I figured I wanted to see how she'd accompany me on a ballad. I said, do you know a song called You Don't Know What Love Is? She said, no, well, I'll try it. I said, okay. Hit an E, because I played a little obligato up front. I said, hit an E minor 7 flat and 5. And I turned around and I hear some cockeyed chord. I said, maybe she didn't hear me. So I turned around. I said, no, E minor 7 flat and 5. And I turned around and once again, some cockeyed said, no, she said, wait a minute, I don't know chords. I said, well, how are we going to play? She said, so she said aloud, why don't you just turn around and play the song? So, I went, start playing, and she started playing these chords, hearing what I'm playing. And I didn't believe how she covered, not knowing the song.
Wow.
So that was great. Now, I used to do that vibe duet. It started with Don Elliott, which made me get a lot of work in New York. So I said to she said, by the way, I play a little vibes. So I said, really? I think, wow. She can play vibes like Don Elliott used to do. So I said, okay, I'll play the piano for you. So once again, with the blue eyed rhythm, and she started playing the vibes and said, damn, it's as good as I just played. So then I to get her to go on her, she'd never been out with a white band before. So there was a guy called Bill Batney, a correspondent who wrote for the Detroit paper, wrote internationally. And he was a friend of mine. I said, Bill, I called him, you got to help me get this girl because she'll tear up New York. This is the bebop. This is 1953. You got to remember. And so went to her mother. We went to see our pastor. And I said, and my first wife was the same age. And I said, we'll take care of her, you know? So then brought her to New York. And of course, first we played in Columbus for a week to bring the band in. And it was a little testy with the racial thing. And she was almost getting bugged. And I had to tell her, don't worry about it. And they weren't picking on her. They would pick on me because I hired a black girl. Anyhow, then we went to New York. Opening night, Bird came in and heard her play and offered her a job. I figured, I'm going to lose her. Every night for the week we were there, Bird offered a job. Anyhow, she was my band 4 years. And we worked 52 weeks a year. Frank DeVito, who's still alive, lives in California, and Bill Crow, bass player, both worked for me. The only two people alive that ever worked for me. Bill is 96, I think. Frank's about 94. And Frank DeVito one day put our itinerary on Facebook. We worked 50 weeks a year. We work 2 weeks in a club, get done at 4 o'clock in the morning, pack, and drive 500 miles, maybe get to the job, maybe where we could check in. If not, we go right to the job, put on our dark suits and get on stage. And it was like adrenaline. Boy, we were just hot no matter what. And it was like, you know, jazz music, if you're really into it and playing with the best players, you can't help but have fun, you know.
Wow.
Now she sounded different than any piano player in 1953.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, she was
amazing. Yeah. Wow. What a moment in time. Whew.
the 50s. You know, so while the young people. That's why when I do my show, I say, ask me questions about the 30s with the big bands, swing,
Yeah.
and even the 40s, and then the bebop era. I play with everybody, every bebop player you could think of.
Yeah.
And I really played somewhere with them, you know, or knew them well.
Yeah. I mean, there couldn't have been one favorite. I mean, I know just from my own experience playing with people, I love so many people. I mean, there are a few that I have more affinity in the musical relationship. It just is. Is there anybody like that?
Yes. To me, Charlie Parker was the genius of anybody. But the three people I learned from, you got to understand, young kids today are learning from somebody who learned from somebody.
Yeah.
And I had to learn from the guys who started bebop.
Yeah.
Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and Bud Powell. So I had to learn from them. And I was good at memorizing things and hearing things. And so I learned the language of bebop, the configurations, and how I knew harmony and theory backwards and forwards. They didn't change the chord progression. They just added, like Art Tatum when he played. You know, he was all over the place with chords. But Charlie Parker and Dizzy, they made it musical, but they changed. They didn't change the chord. They just added something that would lead you into the other chord, give you a little more to play on, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Taylor has a question here. He'd like to know how you would define what having happiness means in the world of music. So what makes you the most happy about your career and where it took you?
Getting on the stage and playing a chorus I like, or playing 5 choruses. You up the stage and say, wow, I had fun doing that, you know? I think that was almost as good as finding a pretty girl and finally going to bed with her, you know? Which
Hey,
I'll tell you, you want to hear a story? I'll tell you which
sure.
if my wife was still alive, I could tell the story because my wife was a prude. But my younger days, I was bad. Any pretty girl that wanted me could have me. One time I played in Minnesota, and this Miss Minnesota came in. I was introduced to her, and she sort of like hit on me a little bit. Like, I said, would you like, when I get done, go back to my room? She said, yeah. So anyhow, we get done playing, and I'm not sure, one of the guys in my band said, hey, Terry, there's a jam session down at this club. I said, really? So she came and said, are you ready? I said, listen, there's a jam session down here. You want, if you'd like to go with me, oh, this was Miss Minnesota. I said, but I had to go to the jam session. We went there from till 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. And, going back to the room, there was nothing to have to work on with it. So she was already mine, But it was funny that I had to go to the jam session first. And she was beautiful, all those ladies. But music has been the cliche has been my life,
Yeah, yeah. I had a question I wanted to ask you. I forgot. Gosh. Oh, I think, yeah. You mentioned in passing, was your dad a player?
Yeah, my father, in the Jewish field, my father, they all escaped from Russia, and they brought this music over.
This was like they were born in the 1890s, right?
My father came here in 1922.
Yeah.
Well, I won't even answer. It's probably, that it's always nobody at all. I have to, what I used to do, which is terrible? You get these phony phone calls from people with a foreign language, ask you how your back is. It's terrible. You know what? I got nothing to do. I'll keep the guy going. Yeah, I got a bad back, and they'll say all these dumb things. I'll say, oh yeah, I'd like to say, Doc, well, we can help you. And then I'd say, you know something? I'm a con man, and you're a terrible con man. Get insulted like it. He say, what do you mean I'm terrible? We really had an argument about being a terrible con man. I get it out of my system. It felt good.
So your dad, what did he play?
My dad was a violin player, but my dad was a great man. He taught young musicians later, if you want to have class, show up with class. Show up on time, always dress good, But the thing was that all these musicians, like, you can call 5 guys to have a jam session and you'll need music, you just go there. Every one of these guys who escaped from Russia who played with my father, he'd have 2 or 3 weddings, or maybe a bar mitzvah and a wedding. All these guys all do all the same songs. And I did an album called Terry Plays Jazz, Jewish Melodies and Jazz.
Oh, wow.
I want to say it was one of the funniest dates. Alice Coltrane was on there. Her name was Alice McLeod at the time. She was working my band. I introduced her to John, but she was still Alice Coltrane McLeod. I hired Quincy Jones was the A&R man at the time. So I came to Quincy. I said, look, they do this Latin jazz album. I want to use Jewish because while we're playing jazz, I wanted that beat to go on. And my brother was the Art Blakey of the Jewish drummers. He could swing it from here to Yugoslavia. It was that good. I hired 4 of the best Jewish musicians that worked with my father to play the Jewish part. And then we played the Jewish part, then go into jazz time. And I played marimba vibe. But Quincy Jones was the A&R man.
Wow.
Showed up at the date, for the people who are Jewish, wearing a yarmulke, which is a beanie, shawl, which is a tallis. He wore. And showed up at the date like that. And then in the middle of the date, Lalo Schiffer brought me a box of matzah. It was as Jewish as. But let me tell you, the wildest thing is, I was the Jew, and Alice cut me because she was just getting into. We played opposite John Coltrane for 2 weeks before we did the date, and she loved John. She was just getting into, the Jewish music, all minor keys, all those runs, and she was making all those runs, and all the Jewish musicians flipped out over her.
Huh.
And they said, I'm the Jew, and she wiped me out.
Wow, that's interesting.
Funny, it was the funniest day. We had so much fun because, like I said, Quincy sitting there in the booth wearing a yarmulke and so and Lalo showing up with a box of pasta.
Wow, that's very funny. My dad was a sax player, and he led big bands in Boston. Jake Hanna used to know him, and yeah, and my mom used to sing, and my twin sisters sang, and one played piano. So I just came up in the whole thing. But yeah, my dad, I was growing up with a big band leader, basically. I would put the music back in order every Sunday morning with him, and I I smelled the spit and the smoke, and I loved that smell. I didn't know it was spit and smoke, but it was like, oh God, I love the smell.
There's something about being in a club and playing that you can tell people about it, but you had to be sure you had to be there.
Yeah, yeah. Big party.
It was. Every time my band got on stage, it was a bunch of nuts and stuff. I always hire guys that I have fun with off the stage, so I can platform and say, if I can't have fun with a guy off the stage, I don't hire him. It's got to be somebody who can play that good first, but have a sense of humor.
Yeah. Boy, that's so true, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
playing jazz. Every time Bird would play, sometimes it'd break up one of the licks he played. It made you laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of challenging to explain to people. Over the years, I've tried to explain to people who don't understand jazz, how to listen and what's going on. But somebody just told me something which was kind of interesting. He said, well, it's really a conversation. So if you can adjust your brain to think that it's a conversation between these people, then, you're a little closer in to what it is.
It's pretty wild because Tom Rainier loved Buddy DeFranco because he plays clarinet, and as a kid he loved what I did. So he took one of the records that Buddy DeFranco and I did, where we played 4 bars each,
Yeah.
and wrote it out. I got the hanging there. He wrote it out, the whole thing as one person playing, and then he made me at that time a tape recorder of him playing piano of that solo, and it sounded like one guy. So that was a conversation right there.
Yeah.
He said there's 4 bars. I answered with whatever, and then he answered me.
Yeah, yeah.
You said the right thing. It's like a conversation.
Yeah. So my friend Roland just plays Jewish melodies in jazz time.
He did.
Yeah.
It's a great album. Really is very good.
He just got it rolling. That's cool. I'd like to hear it too. Yeah.
I just made 2 cents.
Yeah.
Royalty. I just made 2 cents.
2 cents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Hey, well, talking about 2 cents. So you've seen a lot of different things. What's your, it almost doesn't really matter, this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's your perspective on how the business is right now and how musicians can't make money and can make money? The CD thing, the recordings, we still record, but are we going to make money on it? Probably not.
It's not like the old days. I am the Irving Berlin of the writings people. Irving Berlin published everything he wrote. I recorded about 220 originals. I've had records by Nat Cole and Cannibal Adderley, George Sherry, but I never pushed them. But the thing is, I published everything. I have my own publishing company. Every TV show that if they wanted me to conduct a show, I had to publish my own songs that I wrote. even the little in-betweens, whatever I wrote, I'd have to go to comedy meetings when they write, so that when the comedy writer would write a skit, they want a little music here and there, I'd publish it all. And so in my publishing company, I got about 200 and some odd copyrights. So I get I don't make the money at Johnny Mandel, people like that, because I don't have, they're all instrumentals. But my last album, did I tell you about, did you ever hear about my last album? Wait, I gotta get it. I just did, it just came out this year. You ever see this thing?
Lift it up a little. A little higher. Terry Gibbs, Legacy. I can't see it, so lift it up. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I see now. I can see myself.
Oh, the Terry Gibbs songbook. Okay.
Let me tell you what it's about.
Yeah.
I wrote this, Alan and Malin Bergman, a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And you know, they're, whatever they write is a hit, right?
Yeah, totally.
I was talking to Alan one time because we talked, and he said he's doing an album of lullabies. And I had this one song that was in my piano bench that I wrote that I really thought was a pretty song. And I sent it to him. He says, you know what? We're going to use that. And wow, what a way to go out. And my life is to have Alan Mallenberger write a lyric to one of my songs. And what happened is that Marilyn got dementia.
Yes.
And she got Alzheimer's within a few and died.
Yes, I remember that.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to call Alan. And you know Mike Deese at all?
Yes, I do. He's fantastic.
He also writes lyrics, by the way. But
He's a great writer. I think he writes standards. He's a gorgeous writer.
Yeah, I called Mike, who about maybe 20 years ago, believe it or not, you know who else on the name Arthur Hamilton?
Sure.
On your river. I get a call from him from left field. And he says, you know, I've heard your instrumentals. I write George Gershwin and Vic DeYoung, and those guys are my idols in writing it. And so I all my things that I write are melodic. You can put lyrics with it. So Arthur Hamilton called me. He said, I'd like to talk to you. And he came to my house. He said, I like what you write. He said, I'd like to have a few of your tunes. And he picked two of my favorite tunes that I wrote and picked them. And then Bobby Troop came before he was alive. He liked my tunes, so he wrote a few lyrics. And Steve Allen and a guy right from the Sting, and then Michael Deese, and we went and made a demo of the things. So anyhow, when I had this piece of music and Alan couldn't do it, I called Michael. This is funny. I called Michael. I said, Michael, I have a song I wrote, and I, by the way, 92 years was the last thing I did. That was like 6 years ago, 7 years. So I said, Michael, I wrote a song that I wrote. I need a lyric. He said, hey, Terry, leave me alone. I'm playing golf. I'm retired.
Right.
Let me send it to you, you know. He said, okay. So I sent it to him, and he called me back 3-4 days. You know, that's a real pretty tune. I'm going to try to write a lyric. So he wrote this lyric to it, and I really liked it. By the way, before that, Tom Rainier came to my house, when I sent it to Alan, he made me a CD and the music. So I get this thing from Mike Deese. I sent him a record, you know, to listen, and he says, "God, it sounded good to me." So he said, "I'm going to send it." So I figured I'm going to send Tom Rainier to hear. He says, "Hey Terry, with the lyric, that sounds beautiful. I'm going to write a background. Now this is just a one song thing that Tom Rainier wrote a thing on." He said, "I'm going to write a thing," and so. No. Before that, let me go back. I get the lyric, and I sent it to Michael. I said, Michael, can you go in the studio and record it with lyrics? I hear what it sounds like. So I'll try to find one. And he comes back. He says, I can't find one. I said, this I'm going to ask you a weird question. can you take your iPhone and play the record, the CD I sent you, and sing into the iPhone and make it? Are you crazy? I'm not going to say it. I said, nobody will hear it. I just want to hear what your lyrics sounds of my song. I don't accept it. I want to hear the stuff. I'm going to do it, but you better not play it for anybody. Get back. Because he's a great singer. And the song sounds, so I sent it to Tom Bernier because he had the piano. And Tom said, boy, that sounds great. I'm going to add some strings to it. So Tom had some strings. I sent it to my son Jerry in New York. And he says to me, Pop, that's great. I'm going to add a little reverb to it. I got the first chorus of a record. I mean, so I called the guy who recorded me 92 years ago, who loved what I did. I said, look, I want you to hear a song I wrote. And I sent him that thing with us playing. And he said, that's a great song. And it sounds great. You got any more songs like that? I said, yeah, we're on album. He said, want to do an album? I said, yeah. So I had Mike Dees. I could have called Arthur Hamilton because he always wanted to write lyrics. But I called Mike Dees because we lived close. And we're closer friends. And he wrote about 6 more lyrics and 6 more. Yeah. So I had about 18 to. Now I got to find a singer.
Yeah.
To get the company involved.
Yeah.
Called the company. I said, can you send me anybody you think on your label that can sing good? And so they sent me this record. This kid called Denny Backer. And all I want to know if he can swing and sing a ballad. And I'm looking at the songs he's got there. And is you ain't my baby. If you can't swing that, you become a shooter. Then he sang Sunday Kind of Love, which was pretty. I never met him, so I figured that's the guy I'm going to use. Now I got to put this thing together. And I'm a Leslie Young freak. All the players I've ever played with, like Stan Getz and Al Cohen, and actually Phil Urso, who was my first band in New York, and then in my dream band, Richie Kabuka, Bill Perkins, always press school.
Yeah.
Now I wanted 2 guys. So Harry Allen?
Yeah.
And Scott Hamilton?
Yeah.
I got both of them to agree thoughtfully.
Wow.
Put this thing together with Tom Bernier, and we went into and I had this kid come out. And this kid, Danny Backer, by the way, is an entertainer. He works as an entertainer. He sings, he does comedy, he's an actor, he tap dances, and he plays all the reeds. So that's what he works at mostly. So when he came out, we had sent him 18 songs to learn that nobody ever sang before or ever heard before. They were instrumentals of mine. That was to put them. So Danny Backer come out, we'd have the first rehearsal at my house. I couldn't go through the first date because I had a doctor's appointment. So we're rehearsing at my house, and he sang the first song, and after I said, Danny, I want you to be a favor. Take away, don't sing to me. Read that lyric to me. And I said, so he read it. I said, now I want you to sing it the same way you read it. Tell me a story. Tell you, Frank Sinatra, Tony, they told you stories.
Yeah.
In fact, Tom Bernier told me that when he conducted for Tony Bennett, sometimes Tony would talk for 8 months before he came with the melody. And so just like you're talking to me, I want you to sing every song. And he did. And Scott Hamilton and Harry Allen sound so great. And Tom Bernier, the solos are so great, and I don't play on it. And the album went to number 13 on the charts.
Wow.
My other album playing, it would have gone to number 1 if I was playing on it. But I just produced it and put it all together. And it was the last thing I did. And I'm not sure if I would have felt better if Alan and Malin would have written a lyric.
Well, they were the perfect lyric writers. But Michael Dees is really great. Actually, I had Michael Dees on this show, and he told me about the record. Because it was just a few months back that I had him on the show.
It was wild when I asked him to sing on the iPhone. With the are you crazy? Michael, you're crazy. Well,
he's a great singer too. He's a great singer too.
Oh, he's a very good singer.
Yeah.
I wanted a young person.
Yeah.
and somebody connected with the label. So the label, in fact, we had two guys working. I had the guy that normally works doing the record promotion here.
Yeah.
He had one from the record company. So we had the East Coast and West Coast covered, and that's why it went
Yeah.
to.
I'm going to have to listen to this record.
I tell you, I'm very proud of the songs I write.
Yeah.
I write very much. You wouldn't get a guy like Arthur Hamilton want to write lyrics for my song.
Yeah.
They're melodic.
Yeah.
Because I write songs. I'll tell you what kind of song I write. I still my style like chord changes. I don't write I got rhythm. We all write blues and I got rhythm, but most of my songs are with chord change. I want to have fun playing on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't write them for anybody else but me.
Yeah.
So I want to have fun playing on them.
Yeah. Do you still write?
I know I'm 99 years. I figured I retired. This time I retired, and with my wife passing,
Yeah.
I just my daughter is great. You just talked to her a while ago. She sold her house to move in with me to take care of me. Though I have in a little while probably I have my care center for my insurance policy comes 4 hours a day. She came here a normal person. I made her a complete idiot. I say the dumbest things to her, and she just laughs and it's jolly. I think I'm too Don Rickles. Every time she makes eat for me, I'll finish the whole thing. It'll be empty. I'll tell her that's the worst thing I ever ate in my life. The first time I said it, she didn't believe it. But she loves coming here for that reason. It's very loose.
I'm sure. That's great. That's really wild. And you have one child?
No, I have a son.
Oh, okay. Oh, right, of course. Yeah.
And I'm doing something. He was going to drive in on the 23rd from Texas, he and his wife, and with all that traffic, and he's got a birthday, January 15th. I'm going to give him a birthday present now. So I got him 2 first-class tickets for both of them to fly in and fly back.
Oh, that's cool.
You know what it is? Let me tell you what it is. All the money I saved was for my wife, who was 25 years younger. I think I got to go first.
Yeah.
But she's a great person. I wanted her to be independent. I have a granddaughter who lives in Tennessee with 2 children. We have 2 great-great-grandchildren, twins. I wanted her to be able to go there 10 times a year if she wanted without ever asking anybody. I have enough money. And thank God I made a decent amount of money in the music business. Plus, I was an investor in raw land and made a lot of money with that. But I was all saving it for her. Though we spent a lot of money because she had ovarian cancer, which is the worst cancer for a woman.
Yeah.
Like you live 3 to 5 years, what the doctor told me. And she lived 3.
Yeah.
And it was very hard the first few months going in a bedroom by myself. But I'm good now because she was very sick. And my wife was a really out Christian and wanted to go to heaven. And so she's in heaven,
Yeah, that's
I'm
good.
not sure where they're going to take me. Because I think Bird and Diz and Bud Powell are downstairs. And I'm not sure who's upstairs,
There's a few.
I want to play with the best musicians,
There's a few movies that I've watched recently. I forget the name of it, but Robin Williams, he dies. His young children die first, then he dies, and then his wife kills herself. But he's in heaven already. But he finds out that she went to hell because she committed suicide, and he goes and saves her. It's a really interesting movie. It's good. And then 5 People You Meet in Heaven with John Voight. That's a really, really cool movie.
I liked him better as an actor, as a comic, because he worked on Steve Allen. He was always on as an actor, always on. He did a lot of Jonathan Winters stuff.
Yeah.
But as an actor, he was great.
Yeah, he really was.
Most comics, they're actors. That's what they do it anyhow. Singers also. Peggy Lee became a good actress,
Yeah.
A lot of singers. Doris Day.
Yeah.
There's you're acting when you're singing.
Yeah.
You're reading somebody else's lines and making it yours. How well you feel about the story.
Yeah, that's true. When I first came here, I thought I wanted to act as well, but I'd been singing all my life. So there was an audition for a number of casting agents in this group that I had joined. And what I did was I sang, and they were kind of stunned. They didn't know quite how to handle that. But for me, it was like, well, here, this is me. This is me doing the story. It was kind of a cool thing. I don't know how many people did that, for them. But yeah, and I mean, as a teacher, I always get students to talk the words, just get real. And yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's actually why I have a love-hate relationship in the studio more than anything.
I
Because
hate
it's just hard to listen to yourself so much, And I usually end up taking the headphones off a lot so I can just, be normal,
Well, even the last things I did in the studio, I'd have one earphone on and one off.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear when I play live. I always made sure if it was in the studio that we were together. Put board. I want to see everybody.
Yeah.
Because jazz is seeing getting the feeling from the guy that's watching you when you play. That's a great feeling. Let's face it. And when you're playing something good,
Yeah.
he smiles. All the things makes you want to play better.
Yeah.
Music is the greatest thing that ever happened in the world. Really.
Yeah. I agree with you.
People like us who are really involved in it and know good from bad, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, when this show, you're something like 561. So
I'm
yeah.
561. I have to remember that number and play it. The lottery.
Yeah, I've been the first day that the pandemic shut down in March. I actually got online and I just was, kind of messing around on Facebook Live, and this really great singer from the Netherlands, Sinna E, she happened to be watching, and I said, "Hey, why don't you come on and be my guest?" And then that was it. But I know it's kind of stupid. It's kind of a duh thing, but as I went on, I was so impressed that it struck me even more that music was, and I pretty much interviewed jazz people, but some other people too, but music was like pervasive. It was everywhere. Artists are like crazy on the planet. We're like balancing out the planet,
Fun doing it.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. The whole thing is in life is to have fun. To me, I no matter what I do, it's got to be some fun thing. I don't handle things I can't handle. When I was young, I wanted to be a fight actor. I was a good boxer.
Huh.
I was an athlete, played baseball and even touch tackle. I was a very good athlete. It was that or this, So, but I was having fun doing it. And when I boxed, if I was getting get knocked out, I wouldn't like it. Nobody wants to get hit and get beat up. But I was good. But it was a choice of doing this music because getting hit on your arms would hurt you from playing. So, but I love music too much. It was too much part. I've been on the road since I've been 12 years old. You remember our show? I'm not sure if you all know. It was called the Major Bose Amateur Hour.
Yeah, yeah.
I won that show. That show was bigger than what on radio than American Idol is on television. Because people like Frank Sinatra won that show. So the talent was a whole lot better, It was a while. I went on the road when I was 12 years old. I had a tutor with me. It was a funny thing.
Wow.
I told my folks that, it's funny. It's one of those shows where you have to, people vote, they call up, vote, but it was phony. They thought I was the best one, so they They sent me out on a tour. They had Major always had different tour things. They sent me out, and they had somebody to carry in Pittsburgh. Now I'm a street person. I love to play in the streets, and so I do my solos. And I'll never forget. I went up to the dressing room. I look out there, and I see a bunch of kids playing stickball and fighting and playing touch football and on the floor. So I took the fire escape, and I climbed down about 3 flights and asked him if I could play with them. And when he found me, my clothes were torn and everything was like that. So he watched me the whole Stanley Theater in Pittsburgh. But that one day was like heaven for me. I got a chance to do something,
It's great. Hey, JJ Jackson's here. She says, "Hi, Terry. You'll always be my father's best friend."
Chubby actually got me on Woody Herman band.
Wow.
They got me in a band. And Chubby was a worse band leader and looser than I ever was. We play a club, and it'd be 40 on, 20 on, 40 on, and we get to the club. We forget about 40. We just play. Everybody would play chorus and maybe an hour and 50 minutes. Then we go out and smoke some pot, and then we come back, and then you say, "Everybody okay?" And Lou Lee, we say, "I didn't get any." We have to go back outside. We get fired every night everywhere we played. Somebody was so loose. He was just going to get high and have fun, It was beautiful. And the wildest thing is, he left Woody Herman band saying he was bugged with all the junkie and everything that, and the Woody band. And so he said, if I ever get a band, it's going to be like Lawrence. Well, anyhow. So we're on the road. We come back. We park in front of Nola Studios. Must have been about like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And a bunch of guys always stood out. Musicians wanted to jam if you had enough money to chip in a quarter each and get a studio, And they said, "Have you guys heard Chubby's band yet?" So Chubby, what do you mean, Chubby has a band? What was that like? Well, no, they were at the Royal Roost. So we went down there, and that band was roaring. Tiny Khan was playing drums. Al Pacino was playing lead trumpet. It didn't make sense. It was that good. Tiny Khan was writing the arrangements, and Johnny Mandel was writing arrangements. It was wild. Chubby, that little band was great.
Wow, that's so cool. Let's see. Taylor wants to know, in 2024, what are some things you're hoping to accomplish, and do you have any particular goals in mind that you're hoping for yourself?
The goal is to wake up in the morning and look and see the ceiling.
I was going to say, because he's retired.
So I'll just open my eyes. If I see the ceiling, then starts like
that sounds like what I do. I'm like, oh, it's another day.
I'll be on it if I get there.
Okay, here's a good question. I like this, Taylor. What songs or jazz standards do you think have the most enjoyable melody and harmony? You already mentioned Stella by Starlight.
That's one of them. Anything George Gershwin wrote, Drum Current, Drum Poco, they wrote beautiful melodies,
Yeah.
And anything they played. But that was the thing about bebop, is that the beboppers, they would take the chord changes of the best tunes and write their own melodies on that.
Yeah.
That was like one of the things that, like, for example, Groovin' High was called whispering chord changes. So when I played New York, I played Groovin' High or Hot House, which is I play those two. But when I play Iowa City, I play whispering. And what is it they call them? Because I was always told, give them a first chorus they can remember, give them a last chorus remember. They'll never have it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to say that, like, I really love Rodgers and Hart too. Pretty songs.
All the people from that era were the heaviest in the world, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
book. Beautiful song.
how can you miss any of those things, you know?
Yeah. And Cherokee was written as a ballad. So, you know,
Yeah, it was a
beautiful
great
song. Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of ballads became with jazz musicians. We played at another tempo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of things are brought up in bebop. It had to have the technique.
Yeah.
Bebop, Bird and Diz and Bud Pilot. So I had the technique as a classically trained xylophone player. So I had figured it was just a matter of learning the articulation, and now they go around with the chord changing, which, like I said, I'm good at memorization. So, but still learning to play. I'll tell you the story. I wrote my book. This had to be about 1946, 47. Charlie Parker, who is, I loved him, but he could be jive when he was stoned out. He stand in front of the Birdlander, and somebody come out and he say, "Give me a quarter, or give me $1, or whatever." And they say, "I don't have it." They say, "Oh, you play tomorrow night." And they'd say, "This, I'll come and sit in with you." They give him the money. He never show up. He never bring the guy, like get stoned. Now, I always was very vocal those days about it. I didn't realize it's a disease. And so I'd come out of the club, and Bird says to me, "Hey, Terry, give me $1." I said, "God damn." I said, "You should be ashamed of yourself. The greatest musician living begging for money." I said, and I told him off, and he said, "Well, you played hard. They don't even judge and all. And give me $1." So I gave him $1, but I knew he's never going to show up. But when people used to hear that Bird was going to show up, place would be packed, even though he wouldn't show up. So we start to play out of nowhere. I get to the second part, and all of a sudden, the place is packed. All of a sudden, he walks in with his saxophone, playing the next 16 bars. Now, those days, guys used to play 20 and 30 choruses at the time. Now, I was not going to follow him because I wasn't even in that class yet. I was learning how to play. And so he came over to stay to a little small club. He's playing the first chord. When he got the 30th bar, I bent down on the floor and then tied my shoe. And when he kept playing the next 2 bars, I stood up. Every time he came to the 30th bar, I went and tied my shoe. I had lost my vibes. I was trying to be standing when he finished playing. And after about 16 choruses, my piano player, "I know what you're doing. I'm not going to follow him either." He would ask me those days, would I rather follow Bird or fight Mike Tyson? Mike Tyson, one punch, you're out of there. And if it's like 30 choruses, flipping out. But I'll tell you, later on in life, maybe 6, 7 years later, when Billy Eckstine became very big, Monty Kaye opened up a new club. Billy Eckstine was a headliner, and Harry James and his band, featuring Buddy Rich and my quartet, for a month. And they came to me after about 3, 4 days. And they said, "Terry, we're bringing Bird out of the hospital and play here, and he wants to play with you." I said, "He doesn't want to play with Billy Eckstine's rhythm section, Bobby Tucker, or play with Buddy Rich." He said, "No, he wants to play with you." Now, I played opposite him a bunch of times when he and Dizzy played together. I played a bunch of times. And so he knew a little about what I do. Anyhow, I asked him what plays played. I played standards because I didn't want to hang him up. And we go down to the dressing room and talk, Yeah. Very intelligent guy when he was sober. And he's very articulate. And so we talked about the third day. He says, "You know something, Terry? I heard all your original songs that you used to play. Why don't you play one of your original songs?" And he said, "I'll jump in. Don't worry about it." Whatever song I played, he jumped in immediately and played it better than I wrote it or played it. But I could play that by that time. So it was fun playing with him. I was learning, and I had bebop down.
Yeah. Did you ever play with Charlie Mingus?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, it was a strange thing. I was working at a club called the Downbeat. and I get a call from Mel Torme. He was doing the first color television show ever, where you could see it on this kind of a screen. It was let me see, this kind of a screen because of color television. You had to get the color, and so he had Red Novo Trio, Kay Ballard, Peggy King, the Mellow Larks, and his piano player Al Pellegrini. And I get a call saying this Red Novo's sick. When I come suffer Red Novo. So I went up there and I played with Charlie Mingus and Cal Farlow when Mel wanted to sing. And I said, Mel, I play drums. I can play drums when you sing. And I'll play vibes when you want to play drums. Oh, that's a great idea. And it worked great. Everybody loved it. So unfortunately, I hated to say it, when it came contract time for Red, they didn't pick up Red's thing. They gave me the job as co-band leader. And I hired Neil Hefti to play trumpet, Bill Harris to play trombone, Hal McCusick on alto, and George Berg on tenor, and Chubby Jackson on bass. That was the little band we had on the show.
Wow.
I was Charlie Mingus. We became real good friends.
Wow, that's cool.
Something happened. Well, it's a strange thing, but the black people who were being picked on those days, they loved me when I hired Terry Pollard in 1953, because the only black guys that really worked with white band were Charlie Shavers with Tommy Dorsey and Roy Elgin with Gene Krupa. Benny Goodman deserves a medal for what he did. But being the king of swing, making more money, being more famous than the president of the United States around the world because of swing music, he hires Charlie Christian, Lionel Hampton, Teddy Wilson, 3 black musicians. Everybody thought he's going to lose all his money, But when somebody's that great, you have to accept him. They wouldn't hang out with them, but they'll accept him. Same thing out with Terry Pollard would be, where all the black musicians really loved what I did. They thought I was taking a chance, but I really never thought about it.
Yeah.
I have somebody that great in my band. She could have 2 heads. Who cared? That's great. Well, 2 heads. Now that I'd have to be 2 different salaries. So just what? I have 2 heads. Which money?
Right. So, what do you do with your days now? You're kind of retired. Do you play at all anymore, just for yourself?
The show. I'll tell you what. I found a game of, I love solitaire. I love using my mind. And I found a game of solitaire that's almost like putting the cards on the table, where the cards don't play you play the cards. You got to remember. And I like playing that game. So I do it. I watch all the news. I don't want to get into politics, but I am a little afraid of what may happen, But besides our country, the whole world is going through something right now. It's the weirdest time to have kids to grow up,
Yeah, it's very weird.
I'm going to mention it. I'm not a Trump fan. I think he should be in jail. I think he should be in prison. He's indicted in 4 places, and he mentions that he wants to be a dictator. So I want to get that's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah. I will say one thing. Colorado actually is not putting him on the ballot.
Isn't that great?
Amazing.
But now, if they get, they still have to go through, I think maybe the Supreme Court.
I think they did already.
They did the Colorado's Supreme Court.
Oh, okay.
And they got all the 6 people or all Trump people that he put on there, So
Yeah.
who knows? But so far they've been fair about certain things.
Yeah.
Not giving Trump his way on a lot of things, because I think maybe they realized that insurrection was bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
And saying he wants to be a dictator, that's bad. He's telling you what he wants to do. So maybe they got some sense. I don't know.
I don't know either. I keep saying, as far as I see it, there's a few choices. 1, we blow up. 2, the aliens come and save us. 3, a lot of young people like use their brains and their new ideas, and we get like shots, of positive change. That's kind of what I see. It's like one of those three things.
And look at the anti-Semitism going on in school,
Yeah, yeah,
and what an anti-Muslim thing.
yeah,
What I think every school should do is get four of the Jewish kids and four of the Muslim kids talk about it and say, why are we fighting here? It's
yeah,
happening there.
yeah,
It's a problem. Something I hate to say it, I'm Jewish, but I'm not an Israeli.
yeah.
I think maybe that how do you say his name? Netanyahu, who's the
Oh,
president?
I don't know. I can't think of it. Yes,
Netanyahu, how do you say his name?
I forget how you say it.
Israel, But anyhow, I don't like to see what's happening to the Palestinian kids. Get them to run away. But unfortunately, the Hamas killed 1,400 people with that bomb. And the Israelis have that motto, never again, because of what happened with Hitler.
Yeah,
And while this thing getting back to Trump, he mentioned that the poison of the people coming in, that direct out of Mein Kampf that Hitler said. Let's talk about Charlie Parker. That's it. Otherwise,
yeah.
I'll really get carried away and tell you how I really feel. What happened?
Well, I can.
I have to show you how I really feel.
I can totally dig it. And I mean, many times I think about what I do and what I could do, what I don't do, like regarding politics, for instance.
Only
And,
do is vote.
but I mean, the music that I create, at least I'm putting really good vibes
Yeah, right.
into humans and, kind of, like I said, we balance the planet out. I really do believe that. So,
Right. And you have is humor in what we do.
yeah,
It's simply,
yeah,
we're lucky people.
we are. We're very lucky. And without us, it would just be a black hole in
It
space.
would be, it'd be terrible.
Yeah, yeah,
People would be complaining about everything.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's basically about 2 hours. So, um,
We've been
I
talking
will,
about it, really.
yeah,
Wow, Cathy, seriously, it seems like we just started our conversation.
it's really fun. I'd love to talk to you again, and um,
I
yeah,
don't know about 5:31 right now.
yeah.
Well, maybe I'll be at 6. I'll be one.
No, you're 561.
5:61. I'm gonna write that down like the Jewish people who were escaped from Germany.
You're 561. It's good. You know some of the other people I've interviewed, but
I watched Ron and what's the
oh, Ron and Angela,
by the way, she's a very good singer.
she is a good
I,
singer.
I think that if she had a chance back in the days of 50s, 60s singing, she would have made it because she's really good. And Ron's a great writer.
And speaking to them, I just fell in love with them. They are so great.
They're so in love with each other.
That too, man.
It's one of the things you can see when she loves him so much and he loves her so much.
You
They
can
have
see it. I know.
such a great thing to say because my wife and I were that way. So when I see that, it makes me feel good.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Talking to them, she was never like the wife that would go, oh God, roll her eyes or anything. She was,
Gave him a
yeah,
career for, gave him a career for him.
yeah.
He
And
really did.
he's a sweetheart.
Yeah, both of them are.
Yeah,
I talked about on the phone a few times.
yeah.
I think last time I called, I told him I didn't like their record. So I have to say something dumb when I do.
I'm I want to send you a few. Can I send you digital, or would you rather if I sent you a few records?
If you send it to me on email, then I can hear it better. I can put it on my
Okay, so digital.
yeah.
I'm going to send you a few. I've made too many to send you a lot, but I'll send you a few that I think you might appreciate.
You know how many CDs I've recorded?
I
80.
80.
80. And I've recorded with other people like Phil Spector. I can tell you a funny story about Phil Spector. But we've been there 2 hours. I'll save them when we come.
Maybe we'll do it again and you'll get to the stories that you didn't get to.
I hate to say it, I got a million of them. I got a million of them, you know. You know what it is? I've been blessed in my life it's like my book. Whatever I told you, it all like in my book.
Yeah.
Very anecdotal. I've had a blessed life.
I'm going to get the book.
I think you'll enjoy Good Vibes. It's you know, there was a trumpet player called Lee Catherine, played by Ben, moved to New York.
Uh-huh.
And he called me up and said, you know what? I read your book and I felt like you were talking to me. So that's what it's like.
That's good. That's a good writer.
Well, it's how I talk. In fact, I told one of the things to publish, I said to him, you can't change my grammar. Therefore, I told you, but if I'm quoting somebody, you can't change my grammar. I grew up in Brooklyn. I may say something very Brooklynese.
That's good.
Hey, Cathy, it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Terry. I know you have another interview, so have fun.
Believe it or not, I changed it to tomorrow now.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, have a great day. Have great holidays, man. I wish you the best.
You too. It's great doing this show. Really a lot of fun.
Thank you.
You get to send me those things.
Okay, I will.
Right.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye, world.